Hello. Today I'm going to explain a problem I have and what direction the solution is going to be, or possible solutions, but I don't have one fully thought out yet, so that's why I'm just gonna explain the problem and yeah, why it's not quite a trivial one, and yeah, I guess some trade-offs associated with possible solutions. So, um, with the current approach of uh, building rows, uh, so yeah, let's just run this for now, which is basically just okay, text box, a label, which is new. I ported to the new trade thingy, and yeah, another text box. Now that just works, so you can whatever enter some text and display some text, yeah, whatever, click between them and so on. But let's say, just for kicks, we wanna display the content of, I don't know if that's actually itself. Oh no, it's not. Yeah, it would be self.a dot is text box content completely opaque. It is. Well, that's not optimal for demonstration. I guess dot editor dot, but there's also, yeah, another dot text. Nope. Yeah, autocomplete doesn't really work here. Okay, whatever, I'll just explain it, because currently text is limited to static strings anyway, so what I'd have to do is leak it. So basically I could put it in a box. I could make a string, capital S string, put that in a box, or convert that to a box, which would be a box of str, and then leak the box to make a static pointer. But that's obviously not. We'd have to do that whenever text changes at least. So that would just be to make it work for showing, but it's actually, yeah, don't want to leak memory like that. But yeah, just to, yeah. So if this were possible, the problem would be, let's just revert this to static string. The problem would be that those exist at the same time, right? So you return a value which contains a reference to, immutable reference to self A, and then here it would also contain an immutable reference to self A, which of course isn't allowed because those exist at the same time. Now, in the previous implementation, this problem was sort of solved by only giving mutable access to things in event handling context. So here on GitHub, on the master branch, you can see in this example, right? You basically have a weird you have a separation between the state used to render. So the state just passed through to build the structure and so on, and the state you get to mutate. So here we just pass in state for display. Huh. Well, I guess it also gets immutable access to state when, yeah, I don't quite know. But basically there's no, then contextualizing it wouldn't work. Yeah, I guess you only get immutable access to, I guess the text box caches it for display or something. But basically state is, yeah, you have to duplicate passing around the state. So there's a context thing which you only get to access in event handling, and there's a state thing you have to basically just do your own thing of splitting it up and passing it to functions, which basically sort of means you do it twice. Now here we don't care about this here, so we only pass the bool, but yeah, in general you do it twice. Now, the problem is that you kind of have to do it twice because you can't use the same code for mutable access and immutable access. Maybe we could do something with a macro to use the same code to, I guess, contextualize with a macro, but that seems sort of, yeah, weird and non-idiomatic, I guess. So yeah, but this sort of solves the problem because, yeah, when rendering, you don't have the issue of like mutable access and so on. So those are allowed to exist twice, or would be allowed to exist twice there. Basically, I don't wanna. I think for now I've decided to not go down that road. Yeah, because I think it's a bit weird, and also I think there might be some legitimacy to mutating stuff in render, even if limited. So the other approach is for those references to just not exist at the same time, which means closures. So you could imagine this widget generating something like some closure, whatever the, I don't know, let's do that, be some handler, and then you can go handler dot sure dot add no dot L for element or whatever, and then, you know, item text box whatever dot dot dot, and then actually, yeah, construct the text box. Now the problem is the state. Because in a previous iteration of my thing, I did basically exactly that. It was all closures, and you had to fully manage your own state, which turned out to be quite annoying. I still sort of like the idea of fully managing your own state, or at least having the option, I think. So yeah, you'd basically have the state stuff in your struct as well, and just intertwine it with your data structure, or not intertwine it and have it somewhat separately, or whatever the architecture of your app, uh, whatever makes sense in the architecture of your app, I guess. But yeah, I tried doing some things with that, and it turned out to be quite annoying. Like for each button and for each list and so on, to have a state structure, you have to store somewhere in your struct. So that's why I came up with this, with the abstraction of having state to your widget, basically. So yeah. Now the problem of like you could imagine it's generating something like that struct state, and it would. So the simple and somewhat more stable way would be for it to generate like a sequence, like just generics, and then it would just store ABC. And then you could, like, however this references state. Now this is very pseudocodey right now, because it would sort of work different in practice, because there also has to be initialization, like the initial creation of the state somewhere, but whatever, let's forget that. So it would be, I don't know, man, state state.0. But the thing is, this number is sort of hard to generate with a declarative macro, because yeah, you basically just have sequences of like repetitions you can pass in, and I can say for each of those generate some code, but I can't get like a token of the number it is or something. There's some crates that do stuff in that direction, but I'm not sure if there's one that does exactly that. And yeah, another option would be to just something with tuples and just generate implementations for like arbitrarily, or uh, for all tuples up to a certain length or something. But I don't like that too much either, because it creates a lot of unnecessary work for the compiler, which I've seen being an issue with Diesel. I tried using a large table there once, and with a lot of columns, and I had to like change some flags so it would generate implementations for longer sequences, and that I think turned out to be quite an issue with compile times. So yeah, and I don't think there will be a what's that called, Vordaic generics or something, variadic, where you can, like, for arbitrary sequences of types or something, have generics. I don't think that'll be a thing soon, so yeah, I don't want to do those tuple implementation type things. Yeah, so basically maybe this solution is is a procedural macro, or uh, but yeah, basically, first to maybe fully explain this. So this would capture whatever you have context-wise here, and it would in sequence generate each widget, so they never exist at the same time, so shared state isn't a problem. Now, of course, this could lead to weird stuff where, like within render, one widget mutates state, and then the next in the same render pass gets the mutated state. But I think in practice that won't be a problem because most mutation will happen in event handling or in predictable places, I guess. But yeah, I do see some potential issue there. So yeah, I'm not sure this is the final solution. But yeah, so yeah, or another option for those identifiers, or but by the way, this sequence would also have to be generated by the macro. Another thought I've had now that we've enabled type alias infiltrate would be, instead of generics, would be to have basically a type, to generate a type. I guess we'll call it A anyway, but it could also just be like type 0. But yeah, by the way, concatenating identifiers is also somewhat of an issue. There's crates for it, but there's a thing in the standard library, an unstable thing for doing it, but you can only use it to reference existing things, not to create new items, new item names. I don't know why, but apparently there's a limitation. So you'd have to use some crates to concatenate those types. But whatever. Would be impl widget or something. And then type 1, also impl widget. And then in your struct, you could just reference those directly. So I don't know. The idea there would just be to remove an unnecessary level of generics, although I don't know if this thing is actually better, like compile time wise, because I guess that's what matters in the end. But yeah, still the same problem. You have to generate those identifiers. Now, the easy way out would be to provide them here. So we could go like A, B, C, D. Now the question is, of course, you could give them more sensible names, I guess, if you wanted to, if that helps or something. But so you could have state and then still need generics, I guess. You can have A, which would be, I guess, A, or the other thing with infiltrate, but you still need this. So now, of course, I don't know. You'd have to have, I guess, proper Rust. You'd have to have two versions, one capitalized and one not. But I guess this might be valid. So you'd have a struct, some struct. So we do, I don't know, ABC, or just A for now, I guess. Now let's see. Is that allowed? There will be a warning, of course, but let's see. Right, yeah, there's the warning, but it seems to be allowed. Now, of course, maybe lifetimes will be relevant as well. Although not for state, I think. Yeah. But otherwise, I guess that would also be valid. Which is kind of hilarious, but it makes sense. Those are all like separate sort of name. I know namespace is not quite correct, but they're like, yeah, separate spaces for names. Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, so I guess that's an option. And it might be the one I pursue first, just because it would be easiest, and then I might switch to an actual procedural macro later. Now, just one little thought I've had is, in some ways this is analogous to like key and view, where you to like to assign it to the right state. But of course, that wouldn't be helpful here, because for actual looping you need like the iter thing, and obviously those wouldn't work with static keys, so this mechanism wouldn't be of any help there. And outside of that, it's really not needed at all, because it's like just a static fixed thing. So yeah, so this really is suboptimal, but better than, yeah, like to make it work, I guess it's fine. But yeah, I guess I'll have to switch to a I mean, maybe some hack with declarative macros could make it work, but at some point you might as well switch to procedural macros if that's more readable, I guess. So yeah, that's it for now. I unfortunately don't have like a very nice solution, but yeah, that's the problem I'm facing right now. All right, see ya.